Anything in particular?
Lost my charger. Don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for it. Hi, Lauren Lee. We're gonna wait till about 5 after to get everybody a chance to sign on.
Okay, morning.
Morning. Looks like it might just be us. Wish I had some hold music.
Right? I
A
feel
little
like it's
dry
not
right
that
now.
many people. It's only like a handful of us all the time.
I think it's because we record them, but
Yeah.
personally I like getting things in real time so that I could ask questions in real time.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I've had some people, they're like, I have anxiety. I don't like it. I'm like, you don't even have to show your face.
Right? Just a name, that's fine. All right, just a minute more and then, oh, now we're down to 10:05. All right, whoever wants to pop in is gonna pop in. It's just you and I today. Okay, so today we're gonna be doing chapter 9, Consultation and Documentation. This chapter's very important because you have to make sure you are documenting everything that you're doing in a massage clinic. And it kind of puts you in a, well, your notes, you know, maybe hands, feet, and scalp massage. You were only here for a half hour, and so you have that documentation to kind of disprove them, which kind of protects you, and protects your client. So our learning objectives for today are going to be explain the importance of consultation before a massage, demonstrate how to screen clients while making appointments, demonstrate how to determine the client's needs and expectations, explain why it is important to set policies during the first consultation, explain 2 ways of asking questions during the consultation, properly administer and review client intake and health history forms to identify potential health problems and contraindications, administer the appropriate body diagram, pose tactful questions related to the location and the client's discomfort, and record notes. Determine the proper extent of assessment for the type of massage service being offered, define a treatment plan, define the term informed consent, list the type of information typically found in a client file, discuss SOAP charts and the type of information to appear under each heading, identify how software and online services are being used in massage facilities, and explain which records should be kept and why they should be updated. So that's quite a bit from, oh, hi, Stacy. I didn't see you pop in there. Okay, so that's quite a bit from just one little chapter, but it's something that you're going to use every single day with every single client forever. Now, the vehicle to do it may change. When I first started, we were all pen and paper. But now as things become more digitized and online, the last couple places I worked actually, went to a digital format to record their notes. And so that eliminates having to actually store a surplus of physical paper files, where you have people's information either scanned into the computer that they filled off of a paper file, or you just have their introductory file is paper, and then any notes on them is digital, which I personally appreciate because you only have so much space in your treatment facility. And paper takes up a large amount of real estate, so it's nice to go digital. So why study consultation and documentation? Massage practitioners should study and have an understanding of consultation and documentation because the practitioner is able to access the needs and desires of the client during the consultation. Potential contraindications can be screened during the consultation, which will reduce undue risk. The consultation will help the practitioner tailor the massage session to better fit the client's need. Documentation helps ensure better communication with members of healthcare team and with insurance companies. So go ahead and turn the page and we're going to go into the introduction. So in that very first line there, I want you to highlight: a consultation or client interview is a meeting in which valuable information is exchanged and views are discussed. During preliminary, whoop,
What?
is that me?
I'm sorry.
What page?
Yeah.
We're on 338.
Thanks.
Got it? Good. All right. So after that first sentence that we just highlighted, during the preliminary consultations, massage practitioners and prospective clients give pertinent information about who they are and why they are seeking the services of a therapist. Practitioners inform clients about the service they provide. So you are going to be able to pick up cues from the client, and the client is going to be able to discern what kind of services that you offer. This is a good way for them to get a kind of meet and greet, because it is an intimate setting, and not so much intimate in a sexual way at all, but it's a one-on-one setting where people will feel vulnerable. So you can use your consultation to instill a sense of comfort, like you are safe with me, you know, display your credentials so that they know that you're a legitimate therapist and you know what you're doing and you can help them. So go ahead and highlight this next sentence. The extent of the consultation depends on the type of massage services offered and the client's reason for seeking services. And highlight. A relatively healthy client coming for a general relaxing wellness massage will require only a brief consultation to determine the client's preferences, needs, and concerns. Review pertinent information from the client intake form, explain policies and procedures, and determine that there are no contraindications. So yes, your generally healthy person, you're gonna see their intake form. They're not gonna have a lot of ailments listed. There's not gonna be a laundry list of medications. It's going to be a generally easy, okay, you're just feeling general, I'm stressed out because of life, I just wanna relax, have a moment to chill out, and that'll be a pretty easy intake. Others will be more complex. Go ahead and highlight. A client coming with a prescription from a doctor from pain acquired an auto accident or seeking reimbursement for insurance, however, will require a more extensive consultation, assessment, and record keeping. Not to say that someone who is like that previous client we just discussed doesn't require extensive record keeping. You just have to be very detailed with insurance because they like details. Consultation practices discussed in this chapter are for practitioners in the wellness, personal service sector. Assessment procedures for therapeutic applications are discussed in Chapter 17, Therapeutic Procedure. So further down the line, we will discuss more in-depthly working with insurance and billing and the documentation and special forms that need to go with that. But as now, we're going to be speaking to more of that, that wider array of clients. So our next bullet here, screen clients when making the first appointment. Go ahead and highlight here, the first contact between a practitioner and a prospective client for the first time a client makes a massage appointment. Right, and highlight. During this first contact, important information can be exchanged to determine whether an appointment for a massage is appropriate. The prospective client might be looking for services that the therapist does not provide, or it might be determined that massage is contraindicated for the conditions of the would-be client. So they may call and say, yeah, I had a hip replacement, I want to get a massage. Right there, there's your red flag. Generally, post-op 6 weeks is the closest we would come to massaging someone that's had a hip replacement. And always with a release from a doctor. Screening prospective clients with a few questions can save valuable time for both the would-be client and the practitioner, as well as eliminate difficult or inappropriate situations. So so that you don't have someone come in, you want to have a couple questions that you can probe with first to make sure that when they get there, that they don't display a bunch of new information and you're like, well, you can't get a massage, right? And now they've traveled all this way, they've made it into the salon or spa or whatever setting you're in. And it's taken time out of your day, it's taken time out of their day. We want to eliminate that. So we probe with questions on the phone. Also, inappropriate situations, meaning usually, but not limited to, the male gender seeking illicit activities from the female. They're searching for, you can infer there. And so they'll start to use a certain amount of vocabulary, certain keywords that you'll recognize, and you have every right to say, I don't believe I offer the services you're looking for, and you're welcome to terminate the phone call. If you ever get a feeling like that, you're well within your rights to refuse service. So go ahead and highlight here. 3 questions help screen prospective clients. What is your main reason for making this appointment? Highlight that. And 2, what is your previous experience with massage? Highlight that. And how did you find out about my services? Most of the time, it's word of mouth. Oh, my aunt so-and-so told me, or my neighbor, or the girl I go to Pilates with, whatever. Lots of people Google, so it depends on where you're popping up on Google. What else? Some people could just be walking by and dropping in too, so we have to have questions to be able to probe with them. Without going into detail, responses to these questions will clarify whether an appointment is desired and appropriate. So you'll be able to, what I refer to as, weed out riffraff, because you don't want to invite someone seeking illicit activities into where you're practicing massage, because it just makes life easier. All right, so conduct the consultation. Go ahead and highlight here. The consultation is a time to gather and exchange information. During the consultation, the therapist has the opportunity to do the following, and we're going to highlight all of these bullets following onto the following page. So establish open and effective communication and rapport with the client, explain procedures and policies, determine the client's needs and expectations, complete, review, and clarify the information on the intake and health history forms, determine if the client is currently under the care of a physician or other healthcare professional, determine if there are contraindications for the massage, determine if the client should be referred to another healthcare practitioner, perform a preliminary assessment, formulate a treatment plan, and obtain informed consent from the client. So let's backtrack a little bit. So we want to establish open and effective communication and rapport with the client. So we want to be speaking in a language that they're going to understand. While it's all wonderful that we're learning all of this medical terminology, your client coming in may not have that medical terminology background. So when you start spewing out names of certain types of muscles, they're going to be like, I have one of those. You know, and so you've got to change your vocabulary depending on your clientele. Sometimes you'll get a nurse come in and she'll be right there with you on the medical terminology. Other times you'll have people who just didn't ever take an interest in science and don't really care about medical and anatomical terminology. All they know is the back hurts. That's about as much medical terminology as you'll get out of them. Also, when it comes to using your vocabulary, you don't want to make your client feel stupid. So speaking in a way it's not condescending to them, and being kind. Smiling helps, changes the tone of your voice completely. If you're doing a phone call consultation with them, smile on the phone. They can hear it. They can hear your smile. Explain procedures and policies. That could be like cancellation policies, or say they need to fill out physical forms before they come into the actual place of business. They need to come maybe 15 minutes early. And if their appointment's at 10 o'clock and they show up at 10 o'clock and they still have those 15 minutes of forms to fill out, that's going to eat into their massage time. So you need to explain procedures in place for that so that they understand, if you come in at 10 o'clock and you have paperwork to fill out, we cannot perform your whole massage, and we will do as best as we can. So this is why our policies are arrive 15 minutes before your appointment time, or 5 minutes, or whatever time frame you choose. But setting that precedent beforehand, so there's no surprises, nobody is unaware. Oh, they didn't tell me that on the phone. And depending on what size, you may be doing a consultation on the phone, or it may be reception staff. It's going to depend on the setting you're in. Determine the client's needs and expectations. Again, we're going to be able to weed out the riffraff and then discover what each client is looking for. Like we talked about with the client who has medical conditions that's going to need a more in-depth consultation and intake versus the person who's just stressed out with life and they need a not less thorough, but not as intense of a background check with the consultation. Complete, review, and clarify information on the intake and health history forms. Sometimes they're not going to understand some of the terminology going on the form, so you'll be there to clarify it. Determine if the client is currently under the care of a physician. So you'll be able to discern if they do have any medical issues happening that, are you under the care of a physician for? What is this medication for? And that if you need to get a release from said practitioner. Determine if there are any contraindications for massage. We want to make sure that they don't have anything going on that we could hurt them with by doing a massage. If they had unregulated high blood pressure, we wouldn't want to do a massage because we're going to improve circulation. So if they already have high blood pressure, and we're just going to send more blood whooshing through there, their blood pressure is going to go through the roof. Determine if the client should be referred to another healthcare practitioner. That's where you're going to get into their health history. Some people, and I found this not so much male to female, but in the older population, they're a little less willing to divulge medical history because they're in maybe a spa setting and they don't see the medical aspect of it. And so you use that time to teach your client that we are in fact governed by the Board of Health. We're not just a spa modality. We are in the healthcare field. We're just able to operate in these spa settings. So we need to remind them that we are a healthcare professional and we need this information. It's only happened a couple times, but once you explain it to them, they go, oh, okay, and they're a little bit more apt to divulge. Perform a preliminary assessment. That's where you're just going to get your baseline information that you need. Formulate a treatment plan. Decide what you're going to do before you walk in the room. You're just going to wing it, maybe? Not a good idea. So you want to have a plan of action that you've discussed with the client before you walk in the room. And then obtain informed consent. So anything that you decide you're going to do, tools you're going to use, towels, if you're going to use hot towels, heat on the table, techniques you might employ, areas you might work on, you want to know that the client understands all of that before they consent to it. So if you rattle off a bunch of stuff and they go, oh, I guess, No, you want to make sure they have an intrinsic understanding of everything that you're going to perform. And so when they are informed and they consent and say yes, that is informed consent. All right, so the interview. The interview process during the consultation helps determine the course of treatment and sets the tone of the therapeutic relationship between the therapist and client. Often, the first consultation is the first time the therapist and the client meet. Go ahead and highlight this. First impressions are lasting impressions. The image of the therapist exhibits, the image the therapist exhibits will influence the client's respect and confidence. So that means your chance to make a first impression, make sure it's a good one. So you want to have clean scrubs and whatever top or uniform, whatever's supplied to you. Make sure it's not wrinkly. Make sure there's not, snagged threads hanging off. Your hair isn't jumbled up in a big pile on top of your head, just wanging out in all sorts of different directions. Your makeup is kept or simple. Nails nice and trimmed, clean, manicure, and put together. That when you turn the corner with a smile speaks volumes to you as a person. And chance to do it. All right, have everything needed for the interview and massage session organized and ready. Greet the client in a professional and friendly manner. Be courteous and sensitive, and keep the consultation relaxed, yet directed towards pertinent information. Lots of times when people come in and they're just having a stressful time, they'll use that as a moment to decompress. And then all of a sudden, an hour later, you've gotten their whole life story about their mom, their brother, their dog, their cat, the guy down the road, and everything. So we want to make sure we keep it on track. And highlight this first sentence here. An effective consultation depends on clear communication. And highlight. Effective communication is the act of successfully sharing information between two people or groups of people so that the information is understood. Communication skills include speaking, listening, writing, and body language, right? So we want to make sure that if I was sitting here in this lesson and I'm flipping the phone, how committed I am purveying this lesson, right? Sure that we're paying attention to the client. Pertinent. And we need to listen actively. Don't just let their words in the other. Communication is only effective when massage is heard, the message is heard, perceived, and understood. The practitioner must not only be able to explain policies and procedures so the client can understand them, but also listen to and understand clearly the needs and wants of the client. To communicate clearly, it is helpful for the practitioner to be aware of the client's level of intelligence and communicating style, as well as the client's emotional and mental condition. It is important to communicate on a level with the client in a manner that the client comprehends. So I touched on this a little earlier. Some clients you will be able to bust out your medical terminology and flex your brain muscle and show them how much you've learned. Other clients, you're going to have to get a little bit more rudimentary, and it's going to depend. Some people are visual learners and communicate by seeing things or by reading or writing information. Others are auditory learners and do better talking and listening, while some people are kinesthetic learners and understand better by touching and feeling things. Be aware of how the client best expresses him or herself and respond in the same manner. Create an atmosphere, excuse me, of receptivity, and develop a rapport with the client by listening carefully and showing genuine interest in any concerns. Right, so some clients might do better with a body chart and circling what the problem area is. Other people might turn around and show you, this is what's really bothering here. And so we want to follow that theme when they demonstrate that. Okay, so this is the avenue we're going to work with. Let's continue down because they will understand it better. Go ahead and highlight here. Personalize the connection by maintaining visual contact, using the client's name, and listening attentively during the consultation, and highlight. So I worked for a long time at Massage Envy, and we used iPads to do our intakes. And they would do a lot of their information on the iPad. And when you brought them to the treatment room to do your consultation, you had a lot of information to look at. And if you just sat there and go click, 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 and you don't look up at them, they don't feel cared for. So you want to make sure that even though you're recording pertinent information, that you still have a connection with them. That they don't feel like, oh, she's just clicking buttons and trying to get me through, because keep in mind at those chain places, you have a very limited amount of time to do your consultation and get them on the table and get moving into their massage time. So, observing and mirroring the client's body language, voice tone, and language can also enhance rapport. Good rapport provides the basis for trust, mutual respect, openness, and harmony, all of which enhance the therapeutic relationship. So not so much if you have someone with an English accent that you want to emanate them, but they're going to speak a little bit more clear and concise. So you're going to want to speak a little bit more clear and concise. The same thing when you get someone who has a smaller vocabulary, you want to stay in the smaller vocabulary. You don't want to make them feel stupid. All right, nonverbal communication. Not all communication is by spoken word. Go ahead and highlight here. Nonverbal communication is the posturing, gestures, and facial expressions that can accompany verbal communication are going to be expressed without words. This speaks volumes. If I have my arms crossed and my head down, and I'm talking like this in a monotone, that's going to speak volumes to them of my interest level of doing their massage. I'm not even writing down anything they're saying. Nonverbal communication, sometimes known as body language, often speaks louder than words and provides clues to a person's emotional, subconscious, or even physical condition. Be observant of how a client holds his body and sits or moves for clues to where he holds tension or pain, or whether he's confident or uncomfortable. So some people might be very stiff and rigid and quite apprehensive. Other people, the way they move, you might see that they don't turn their head, but they turn their body. Maybe they have some restriction, right? That's going to tell you things. And it might not be things that they're 100% aware of yet. Does the client seem open and engaged, or reserved and reluctant to participate in the consultation? Sometimes verbal and nonverbal communications are not congruent. The words say one thing and the body expression says another. So you have to learn how to kind of read which one is the truth. For instance, if the client tells you how good he feels and how well things are going, and yet at the same time his head and shoulders are down, his voice is weak and shaky, consider inquiring further into the reasons he's seeking massage and provide tactful feedback that his body language is sending a different message. And so let them know, you say you're feeling good, but the way your shoulders are, it seems like you're a little uncomfortable. Probe with those a little bit more neutral words, I guess. Nonverbal communication is also important considering during massage. Facial expressions such as serene smiles or grimaces and subtle sounds such as moans and groans provide feedback to the practitioner that the selected massage procedures are either appreciated or perhaps too aggressive. I found this one working is, I'm short, I'm 5'3", and I would have 6-foot-ish tall guys come in and they go, oh, just give me the deepest massage you do. And, you know, challenge accepted, but I never want to hurt anyone. If you want a deep tissue massage, we can do that, but it's going to be something that you can withstand. I'm not going to hurt you just to prove, oh, I've got it. I've got the weight behind me. I can really throw down and do some deep tissue massage. But if we were to be doing some deep tissue work and I see all of a sudden, you know, a furrowed brow, you know, that's going to be a cue to me, even if I say, is that a little too much? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Like, oh, no, it's fine, I'm good. You're hurting more than you're helping at that point. So you want to be able to read them as they're on the table. You know, if they have a nice neutral face and they're just relaxing, all is well. Fidgeting, muscle contractions, and flinches indicate discomfort with a need to alter the massage. Even if they say, oh, it's fine. No, you need to alter it. They could be, you know, shying away from the stroke you're doing. That's going to tell you like, hey, we need to back it up. We need to back it up, reassess what we're moving on through here. So go ahead and highlight fidgeting, muscle contractions, and flinches indicate discomfort and the need to alter massage. And your highlight. When a nonverbal message is given and received, the practitioner can verbalize feedback to the client to clarify the message and its correct interpretation. As a practitioner. Be aware of your own nonverbal expressions and body language and how they might affect the client. A practitioner who is attentive, responsive, and maintains eye contact from the same elevation makes a much better impression than a practitioner who sits across the desk shuffling paper or who stands above the client or turns his back while attending to other tasks during the consultation. The practitioner's body language should send the message that the practitioner is open, friendly, confident, and professionally interested in the client during the consultation and throughout the therapeutic relationship. If you want to be attentive during your consultation, you don't want to be rolling, you know, wetting down and rolling towels in a sink while you're speaking to them about their massage. You know, oh, maybe we'll do some heat and I'm gonna wet down some towels and get those ready for you to go into the hot cabinet. You know, and now we're continuing to discuss our massage, but I'm over here doing something. I want to keep that focused on them. Communication during the consultation. The interview process continues throughout the consultation as the practitioner asks questions to determine client concerns and conditions. Go ahead and highlight here. Ask pertinent questions and listen closely to the responses. Use open-ended questions that require an explanatory response rather than a simple yes or no answer. They'll divulge more information if your questions are more open-ended. Answers to questions like describe your areas of discomfort and show me where you feel it. Provide more information than do you have discomfort? Okay. So do you have discomfort? Yes. Where is your discomfort? Here. You know, we want to know where it is, how it feels, where they feel it. Allow as much time as necessary for the client to answer questions completely. To make sure you understood the client's response, summarize what is said and restate, right? So if you say it back to them and they go, yes. This practice is known as active listening and vastly reduces possibilities of misinterpreting information and can be useful when dealing with conflict, right? So we want to make sure that we say what they said, we understand it, back to them. So go, yes, that's exactly what I meant, right? We record that. We have understood each other. We're going to continue on with X treatment for Y reason. Right. Be with the client. You will concentrate on what is being said and not let your attention be diverted. Right, so we want to be performing this consultation somewhere quiet where other clients aren't coming through. No one else can hear the consultation because that information is regulated by HIPAA, right? So we don't want to be in a treatment room with a door open. We want to close the door and have a private consultation. Wait until the client finishes before speaking. You will not interrupt or interject. You will wait until the client has concluded his or her remarks before responding. Repeat what the client has said. You will reflect on what was said and restate or rephrase it to be certain you understood the meaning. Gain agreement from the client. You will establish what you repeated was what the speaker meant or intended. So when you say it over again, they understand that you understood. Purpose of the consultation. The preliminary consultation is the first opportunity for the client and therapist to meet, clarify their intentions and expectations for the massage, and agree on some goals. Now, some people will come in and have very, very high expectations. Just an example, 20 years of back pain, they want it gone by the time they leave that session today. So we need to, between the therapist and the client, set some real expectations. My favorite thing to say to them is Rome wasn't built in a day. So this 20 years of issues that you've been having, it's going to take a while to work out, right? To where you're feeling some sense of normalcy. Where did we go? At the first consultation, the client learns about the therapist and the kinds of therapies offered and gets an idea about the expected outcome. The practitioner is ethically bound to provide information about those credentials, training, massage procedures to be used, and the expected results so the client can choose to participate in those services based on a clear understanding of any information provided. During this first consultation, the therapist learns about the client's conditions, needs, and expectations and determines whether there are any partial or general contraindications for massage, or whether the client should be referred to another health practitioner. The therapist uses information from the consultation to adapt the massage services to best serve the client's needs. Enough information is exchanged to understand where they can say yes. So I want you to come over to the little purple box over here where we see informed consent. For professional services, based on the client's understanding, adequate information from the massage therapist about the massage, including expectations, potential benefits, possible undesirable side effects, and professional and ethical responsibilities. The preliminary consultation is the most extensive. Forms are filled out, policy set, an assessment is done, and a treatment plan created. Go ahead and highlight here. Each session, however, should begin with a short question and answer period to determine any changes in condition or course of treatment. Right? So just because 6 months ago they came in, they did that consultation, doesn't mean they can just waltz right in and be like, massage? Okay, I'm gonna get on the table. We need a little bit more give and take. We need to know if anything's changed. We need to update that health history. We need to know how they responded to the treatment the last time they were there. And we need to document all of that as well. So explain procedures and state policies. Go ahead and highlight here. During the first consultation, practitioners also clearly explain their operational and client interaction policies concerning such things as missed or late appointments, payment of fees, and sexual boundaries. This avoids misconceptions and awkward situations. Right, so we set the precedent from the start. End highlight. Some practitioners provide a disclaimer that their services are not a medical treatment. These policies can be presented in a variety of ways: posted, printed on the intake forms, or verbally. Remember to set only those policies you are willing to uphold. So if you have on your form a very strict, you will be charged 50% for all canceled appointments less than 24 hours, you have to stick to it, period. You can't go, oh, it was their first time and we'll let them slide. No, you have to be willing to enforce it, period. When the reasons for a visit are clear and the client expectations are stated, practitioners then can explain in more detail the services they offer and how they benefit the client. The client usually wants to know how treatments will be beneficial, so being able to answer the client's questions adds to the practitioner's credibility as a professional and helps build client confidence. Practitioners can also explain procedures they use during massage sessions or any procedures the clients need to follow during an appointment. So that could be your dressing down procedures. Many times I would have female clients, as soon as we walked in the room and I shut the door, they're like, oh, we're all the same, and just start dressing down. And it's your job to inform them, no, according to Florida law, you need to wait until I leave the room to undress and get into the draping. In the same breath, you need to explain where they need to get into the draping and what the policies are for your facility and for the state and county you're in. When I worked at Massage Envy, it did not matter the sex, no nipple could be shown. So men who wanted to have the drape down to their waist, they had to be re-draped and bring it back up to their pectoral line. And that's just their policy. But you have to make sure that you explain all of that to them. It is important to keep clients informed about what is being done and why, particularly if it's the client's first visit to the place of business or first massage. So many times I have people come in for their very first massage and they're surprised that they have to undress. And so you have to educate them. Well, we have a sheet and blanket here. When I step out of the room, make that crystal clear. When I step out of the room, you are going to undress to your comfort level. You will be underneath the sheet and blanket like you are getting in bed. And then you tell them either face down, face up, right? I'll put a bolster underneath your ankles or underneath your knees, depending on which position they are in. And kind of make it to where you're over explaining. So there's no questions when you leave the room and they're like, what do I take off? Right? They know exactly. My clothes go here. I'm going to get in here. This goes all the way up here to my neck. They're going to take out the body part that they need, put it back when they're done. There's going to be heat on the table. There's not going to be heat on the table. We just need to be able to over-explain so there's no question in their mind. When you walk out of that room, they know exactly what to do. All right. Determine the client's needs and expectations. We're going to highlight this whole paragraph. To perform services that directly benefit clients, it is necessary to understand the reasons for seeking services. What are the client's main and secondary concerns? Has the client received massage previously? Which types of massage does the client prefer? What are the client's expectations for the session? What does the client expect to get out of the treatment? What are the goals? Are those goals reasonable, and what will it take for the client to be satisfied? Which physical conditions might benefit, from the massage? Are there any conditions that contraindicate the massage? Is it necessary to refer the client to another healthcare provider before providing any massage services? Right, so we need to run through all of these questions before we perform a massage. And it seems like a lot, but it's really not. All right, let's go ahead and turn the page to 342, and we see massage corner. So procedures and policies should be explained during the initial consultation. It is advisable to have the policies and procedures printed in a document that the client reads. The therapist can review important policies and procedures and make sure the client understands them. Make sure, especially here, we are privy to a more mature clientele, let's say that, to where they might have trouble reading some smaller font. So if you have a laundry list checklist that you need them to read, it needs to be large enough for them to read it. Otherwise, you need to be able to explain it to them in detail. Policies and procedures include the following, and highlight this. Types of services offered, list modalities or types of therapies offered, explain the benefits, risks, and limitations of the therapy, list any specialty areas, groups, or conditions in which you specialize, and highlight. We want to have qualifications of the therapist, provide information regarding schooling, special training, licenses, years of experience, and professional affiliations. You can do that by listing placards on the wall. Every time you go do a CEU, you will get a certificate from them that says, ta-da, you completed this. Put that on your wall. Display your accomplishments. Business policies. Define your appointment policy, including your work schedule, the days and hours available for appointments, and how long in advance an appointment can be made or canceled. State the session. Nope. State the policy for missed appointments and the length of sessions. State that the information shared during the session and all client files are confidential except when subpoenaed by the court of law. Before the client information is shared for medical insurance purposes, the client is asked to sign a release of medical information form. State clearly the policies regarding sexual boundaries. All right, so let's backtrack through that a little bit. Define your appointment policy. When you sign up for an appointment, this is the policy. These are the rules that pertain to that. Include your work schedule. I can't tell you how many times my work schedule was 9 to 5. And you get a call and saying, well, can you come in at 8 for me? Little old me? Set it in stone, be concrete. Otherwise, they'll walk all over you. How long in advance an appointment can be made or canceled? So you can set up a recurring appointment, but you can't let them get into the habit of, oh, I've got this standing appointment, but it doesn't matter if I don't show up. It's okay. They'll just leave early. I'm the last one, right? You have to set a policy in place that you don't show up, you get charged whatever, 50 or 25%, the whole price. I set that hour aside for you. You didn't show up. I am out that time because I didn't put anybody else there because you said you were going to be there, right? And whatever that policy ends up being, instituted. State information shared during the session and all client files are confidential except when subpoenaed by the court of law. We are subject to HIPAA, right? So we cannot share information with anyone else about our clients. The caveat there is in the chain settings. If you other therapist now has that client, they can ask you about your notes on that client day of. And as peers, because you both have access to their information. You're both their therapist. But you can't discuss information with one of their clients that you have never worked on. You can peer-to-peer theoretically discuss situations, but their actual information is confidential. Before the client information is shared for medical and insurance purposes, the client is asked to sign a release of medical information form. That must be done. State clearly the policies regarding sexual boundaries. I personally, when I had my own business, put that in a form. And it was the very last line in my form. I understand that massage is a medical governed under the Department of Health, under medical profession, and is not a sexual activity. And I highlighted it. Because if they read anything, because you know how people, when they get a big list of things, they're like, yeah, whatever, I'll sign it. As long as they saw that highlighted bit and they understood that if you are here for that, you should turn around and leave right now. Right? Really clears out the riffraff pretty quick. All right. So fees, list fees for different lengths of sessions or different services. Define which kinds of payment are accepted: cash, check, credit card, billing later, insurance accepted, under which circumstances. Do you offer discounts for multiple sessions or referrals? Is there a sliding scale? So put the price tag out there in front so we don't get to the checkout and have sticker shock, right? We want to know everything up front. Session procedures, describe common massage, a common massage session and what the client can expect. Include the intake and assessment time, undressing and draping procedures, the sequence of the massage, use of oils or lubricants, policy on talking during the massage, the use of music or not, and any special or restricted activity following the massage, right? We want to make sure that they don't go out and booze it on the boat after they've gotten a massage. All right. Ways of asking questions. To obtain understanding, it is necessary to ask questions and pay close attention to the responses. Two ways of asking questions are written and verbal. Written questions are in the intake and health history questionnaires that the client fills out. When the forms are completed and reviewed, verbal questions might be necessary to clarify the written answers or to gain specific information about the clients and their reasons for the appointment. Record important responses to the client's file. Something that you put down may require additional verification from you, so you'll have to ask additional questions. And as you go, it will get easier. Not to say that people will fall into a theme, but there will be themes among groups of people. Obtain intake and health history forms. Client intake and health history forms are documented to fill, the client fills out before or during the preliminary consultation. These forms provide vital information that the therapist uses to formulate a treatment strategy. The information requested varies according to the kind of massage massage services offered, or the need of the therapist. An example of an intake health or health history form for relaxation wellness massage has been included in this chapter to provide this page here. Email address, their occupation, and other activities that they might be into. Those are all pertinent things. If they are a snowbird and they're only going to be here seasonally, maybe they have an out-of-state address. Other activities that they do, sports that they may be involved in. Their birthday, maybe you want to send out a 10% coupon on birthdays through their email. And their occupation, everything that they do all day long, every day, gonna show up in their muscles. So that's also good to know. They're a construction worker, okay, we're gonna run into some brick wall muscles. Or they're at a computer desk, so we're gonna have a lot of forward rotation. All of these things are gonna give you clues on how you're working on your client. General health condition, their blood pressure, list any serious chronic illnesses, operations, chronic virus infections, or traumatic accidents you've had. Are you under a doctor, chiropractor, or healthcare practitioner's care? If so, for what? Right here, you'll be able to tell them, you have XYZ. That is contraindicated for massage. I need you to see a physician, right? Or I need you to get a release from your physician. Are you on any medications? If so, what? Do I have permission to contact your doctor/therapist? Name of doctors, chiropractors, or health practitioners, right? And we can add ancillary pages if they have multiple people that you'll need to contact. Why did you come for our services? Relaxation, pain, therapy. What results would you like to achieve with our work? Have you ever had any massage therapy before? How did you find out about our service? Were you referred to this office? In case of emergency, notify. So all of these things are going to be on your basic form. Now you can add more, but this is going to be a good baseline form. And then finally, we see here, they've got a little paragraph and it just gives them a little release. I have completed this form to the best of my knowledge. I understand the massage services are designed to be a health aid and are in no way to take the place of a doctor's care when it is indicated. Information exchanged during any massage session is educational in nature and is intended to help me become more familiar and conscious of my own health status and is to be used at my own discretion. Our time together is precious and I agree to cancel 24 hours in advance unless there is an emergency. If I miss an appointment, I agree to pay the full appointment fee. Right? So it's right there in black and white. So when they call and they say, oh, I forgot, you pull out their form and it says, well, you signed the form and agreed upon. I need you to pay this or have a credit card number to book the information. And so if they don't show up, you charge them, right? So backtracking a little bit to the previous page, we see reviewing the forms. Highlight that first sentence. By reviewing the forms, the therapist can spend less time interviewing the client. After prospective client has filled out the forms, the therapist has reviewed the information. Start highlighting. The client is interviewed to elaborate on questions that might need in-depth consideration. And highlight. Information gained during the interview is recorded and becomes a part of the client's permanent record. A client's health history may change over time, so updates are required whenever health status has changed, such as new medications or diagnosis. Any additional information or alterations made to the form during the interview must be dated and initialed. When reviewing consultation forms, with the client, be tactful. If a client wants to know why certain questions are asked, explain reasons. If the form asks what the client does the majority of their free time, in hobby, outside work, the answers might reveal areas of a client's body that could be carrying stress. The client's answers to questions about surgeries gives you clues to health problems and contraindications. The questions, have you received massages before, helps you determine the client's expectations and preference. Answers to the question, how did you find out about massage services? Our massage services tell you whether advertising is effective. Intake and health history forms should include consent paragraphs stating the client has given you all necessary to determine contraindications and does not hold you liable for problems that arise from undisclosed health history. If they don't tell you about something and there is a problem down the line, since you have that form, that's a form of protection for you, right? So we do have to worry, and that's why we have insurance, but we have to make sure we know as much as possible, but we can only know as much as possible for as truthful as they're being, right? So when we have it written on paper and ink, black and white, I have told you everything that pertains to the questions here. If they leave something out, that is a protection for you. A statement should also note that the client understands the massage therapy does not diagnose problems and is not meant to replace other medical care should it be indicated. Right? Some massage therapists get an air of they want to fix everyone and they can replace a lot of medical practitioners. And while I will say the massage therapy world is full of healers, and for anyone to make that one claim is foolish, right? I never use the word fix when I'm speaking to a client. I want to help them. I want to facilitate wellness. I want to change my vocabulary. I am not going to fix you. Let's help you feel better, right? So, and that's again, setting some expectations, because if I bring them in and they've had 20 years of pain and I say, yep, we're going to fix you today, and they leave and they still hurt tomorrow, they're going to be disappointed. All right. So administer body diagrams. Body diagrams of the male and female figure are helpful when the client has some painful or stiff areas that require attention. Give the client a few minutes to indicate these areas on a diagram, then discuss the condition and allow client to explain the symptoms. So give them a pen on their intake form. They'll circle, you know, maybe shoulders, low back, and glutes, right? And then they explain from there, okay, yes, those are the areas, this is what it feels like. Go ahead and highlight that first sentence there. Body diagrams of the male and female figure are helpful when the client has some painful or stiff areas that require attention. Where was I? Oh. After clients have indicated problem areas on the diagram, ask them to touch or point to the areas on their body. Add any notes on the diagram to clarify and record clients' comments about their conditions. The practitioner can ask additional questions to assess the situation. Questions specifically relating to the client's condition help determine what course the massage session will take. Questions also reveal other conditions that might or might not be related to the primary conditions. Thorough assessment also exposes any contraindication for massage. All right. Do we have any questions so far?
Nope.
Very good. I really like to have a body chart on my form, because like we talked about with medical terminology, some people don't have the name. They just know right back here, this thingy here, whatever that guy is, he hurts, right? So be able to give them somewhere to circle, that's what's hurting me, instead of them going, you know, by my shoulder, but a little lower and into the middle-ish area, right? It's going to be a little easier to discern exactly where they're talking about. All right, conduct a preliminary assessment. To determine which massage procedures to perform on a prospective client, or whether it is advisable to refer a client to another health professional, the therapist must understand as much about the client and his condition as possible. An assessment that includes a client history, observations, and examinations can help disclose problems and any physiological basis for the client's complaints. The extent of the assessment depends on the type of massage service being offered. A non-specific relaxing body massage, for example, requires a brief assessment to determine any special areas of concern and whether there are any contraindications. A therapeutic massage session to address some specific concerns or musculoskeletal dysfunction will require a more in-depth assessment. The client history includes information gained from the health history forms, answers questions, and describes and descriptions that the client offers. Go ahead and highlight here. Observations include noticing how the clients hold their bodies and how they move. It includes noticing how they react to questions or manipulative tests. All right, so what I like to do when I have a client is walk behind them when I'm leading them to a treatment room. I could say it's the first door on your right, and kind of observe them as they move. You'd see if maybe their leg kicks out a little further and they've got some maybe hip deviation, or if they're walking down the hallway and one shoulder is up and the other is down, or if they hold their head slightly cocked in a certain direction. You know, what is the reason for that? Are they turning their head? Are they turning their body to look at things? Do they have a hunch status? So we're going to observe all of these things that are going to tell us more about their body. Examination uses various manipulative and verbal tests to help determine more precisely the tissues or conditions involved. We don't need that. The assessment process does not end with the consultation, but continues through the massage. As the massage proceeds, the practitioner monitors the client and the condition of the tissues and modifies or adapts the massage to best serve the client's needs. All right, develop a treatment plan. Go ahead and highlight this first sentence. The treatment plan is an outline the practitioner can follow when giving massage treatments. And to highlight. The plan takes into consideration information from the intake and health history forms, the interview and preliminary assessment to formulate session goals and choose massage techniques and areas of the body to focus on. A general treatment strategy can cover several sessions, but every session should have a treatment plan. Even if the person comes in and they don't have changes to their health history, we still need to discuss the treatment plan, right? We want to make sure that we are still achieving the goals that we set out to achieve originally. If this is not the first session, records from previous sessions provide valuable information regarding treatment. Go ahead and highlight here. The pre-session interview provides additional information concerning the client's reasons for coming and preferences. And highlight. A further assessment will indicate more about the client's condition. Conducting a brief post-session interview is valuable for evaluating the client's massage experience and what techniques and modalities were effective. So we want to know how they're feeling after we've administered the massage. If they feel like, oh, I feel worse, you know, probably wasn't the technique we needed to use. Not that I've never experienced that, but stranger things have happened. This information becomes part of the client's file and is used to plan future sessions. Right, so if they get to the end of the session and they say, well, I feel pretty good, but while we were working on this, you know, it seemed a little intense. We write that down in a note so we know next time when we're working this area, we need to change our stroke techniques, change our pressure, change the part of the hand that we're using. Maybe we'll use the heel of our palm instead of the flats of our knuckles. By combining and reviewing client information, a therapist can develop a strategy or a plan of action. The client's needs, wants, and preferences become more apparent. Indications and contraindications are determined, and referral to other professional or health practitioners might be suggested. A discussion between the client and practitioner can prioritize what the client wants to work on and whether adaptations to the session, such as changes in the position, adjusting the length of the session, or special modalities are indicated. Goals for the session or sessions are proposed, and modalities and techniques are chosen accordingly. When the client is informed of, comfortable with, and understands the proposed plan, the client gives informed consent and the plan is put into action. All right, define informed consent. We're gonna go ahead and start highlighting here and I'll say when to stop. Informed consent is an educational process that ensures the client has received enough information to understand the nature and extent of the massage services. Stop highlighting. It is a way clients can be in more control of their health practices. Highlight. When the client has received and understands information regarding the practitioner's credentials, the services offered, and policies and procedures used during the session, the client is able to give informed consent. Stop highlight. The practitioner will describe the massage techniques to be employed and their projected effects and outcomes, including benefits and possible side effects. The client receives disclosure regarding the services being offered, and the client can knowledgeably make appropriate choices. The client can agree to proceed suggested modifications, or even refuse treatment. In most situations, the client consents to proceed with the recommended protocol, right? Some people, if they don't understand, they say, no, I don't want that. Let's do this if they've been coming before. Some people are uncomfortable changing their routine. Most people, though, at your suggestion, if it's warranted, will be willing to change their treatment protocol. Especially those suffering with chronic pain and you think that it will help them. Chronic pain is really debilitating, and anything to help lessen it is welcomed. Go ahead and highlight here. The client has full right of refusal. That is, the client has the right to modify or withdraw consent to continue treatment at any time during the session. If this happens, the practitioner must comply regardless of any prior consent the client may have given. All right, when they say no, it means no. I mean, that goes across the world in any setting. No means no, right? But if they become uncomfortable and they say, I don't want to do this anymore, you have to adhere to that. Have to respect their wishes. Right. That can take place during the first consultation, and again, when the initial treatment or care plan is completed. It is preferred and required in some jurisdictions that informed consent form be signed and kept in the client's file. Consent to proceed can be given many times throughout the therapeutic relationship. After the initial informed consent is completed, the practitioner should continually inform the client of any appropriate time that a new or unexpected procedure is being employed so the client is aware and can give consent to proceed. I would like to punctuate that with adding, if in your own standalone business, having a set schedule that every so often, here's your informed consent form, I need you to update it. Please, as you gain new modalities, as you gain more confidence in modalities that you are doing, you want to make sure that they understand what you're doing as well. And so every time it changes, they need to be updated and have consent. Continual consent. Go ahead and highlight here. Informed consent is an ongoing process, and highlight. After the initial informed consent form is signed and filed, future sessions can continue with assessments and the creation of an updated treatment plan. The treatment plan includes anticipated outcomes, possible side effects, the number and length of sessions, and the modalities the therapist will use. When the plan is ready, it is discussed with the client for input, and when satisfied, highlight here, the client can sign an updated form indicating continued informed consent. All right, keep documentation and client files. The client file is a vehicle that practitioners use to document the work they have done with the client. Information the practitioner file varies practitioners and often includes the following: the intake form, the health history form, treatment plan, the informed consent form, medical information release forms, recorded session or SOAP notes, financial records, billing information. Go ahead and highlight here. Keeping accurate records is a tedious but essential part of the professional operation. It is a lot of paperwork, but you need it. You need to keep your paperwork up to date. So if someone, God forbid, something goes wrong and someone subpoenas your records, you want to make sure they're as accurate and as up to date as humanly possible, right? So one thing I would recommend is don't wait till the end of the day to document all your people. Do the massage, set some time in your day between your clients to write down what you did. Quick little notes, what you did, so you're not getting to the end of the day going, what did I do on that person? Oh, I don't know, I'll just make something up. You know, you want to make sure it is detailed as you can be. Numerous reasons for creating and maintaining a system and documentation are shown. So benefits of concise documentation. Helps establish and maintain a client-centered therapeutic relationship. Ensures client safety by maintaining a historical record of relevant information. Records clients' concerns and conditions. Tracks clients' preferences. May serve as legal evidence that verifies what took place during the session, thereby reducing the therapist's liability. Liability. Threw an extra syllable in there. All right. You organize assessment data, demonstrates progress made from session to session, basis for creating treatment plans, records what is done during previous sessions and what worked and what did not work, also referred to as session adaptations. Easily exchange client information with other health professionals, and quick access to information for contacting clients to confirm or change appointments or inform them of current promotions. All right, so now we're going to get into SOAP charting. SOAP charting is probably the most popular form of charting used in the medical world. Go ahead and highlight here. The most popular method of recording client and session information in many healthcare professions is SOAP notes. And highlight. The acronym SOAP stands for Subjective, Objective, Assessment, Application, Assessment or Application, and Planning. SOAP charts are used to document information from pre-session interview and assessment, and then update information from each session. Information recorded under each heading of the SOAP notes include the following. So we're going to highlight these bullets. Under subjective, initial interview, anything that the client tells the therapist. Health history, present symptoms, aggravating conditions, what makes it better, what makes it worse, how it started. Record the client's concerns and symptoms, include location, intensity, frequency, duration, and the onset of the condition. Information is derived from intake and client history forms from the client interview. Update subjective information at the beginning of each session. Present condition and changes noticed since last session, and the client's expectations or goals for the session are recorded. So the good way I remember subjective is it's things the client says, right? And we're going to record that down under our subjective heading, excuse me. So under objective, any information that the therapist gathers from history taking, observations, interviews, or assessment procedures. This also includes any visual findings, palpable findings, or test results. The therapist's treatment goals are noted. Information from the subjective and objective assessments are used to design the massage session. Okay. A good way to understand this is things that you observe, right? So it's things you're seeing, feeling, reading. All right, assessment or application. Records what is done in the session and changes in symptoms or responses by the client to the procedures used in the session. Session goals are reviewed, and subjective and objective changes as a result of those sessions are recorded. Any progress, either negative or positive, related to the massage session is documented. Right, so things that have worked, things that haven't worked, we want to record that here. They enjoyed the heat last time, they felt it made the tissues more pliable. Or they felt the use of traction was uncomfortable. You know, just anything that we're going to see here. Yes, this worked. No, that did not. That's going to be the chunk of information we're going to use here. So planning. record suggestions for future sessions or any self-care activities or recommendations suggested to the client. By taking into account what was done and found during the session, the next session is planned, as well as a more extended treatment plan, frequency and number of sessions, with more long-range goals. For more detailed information on SOAP charting, refer to Hands Heal, Communication, Documentation, and Insurance Billing for Manual Therapists. Sounds riveting. So when I do my SOAP notes, I usually do them in a digital format, and I just write SOAP on down like that, right? And then here I'll write what the client says. We see that all right? So, having trouble turning head left. Client is having trouble turning their head left. There is a form of shorthand you can use. I have found working that it's not universal. So some people's shorthand, you might have to discern. Lots of muscles and joints, we have lots of shorthand for, but as of having trouble turning head left, the only shorthand I could find was left. You just L with a circle. Right, so that's what the client said. I can't turn my head to the left. And so what I observed, in addition to they couldn't turn their head to the left, maybe they have an elevated right shoulder. All right, elevated right, abbreviate shoulder. You're moving fast. And maybe we'll notice with that elevated right shoulder that we have an elevation of right hip. Whoop. So, assessment. Maybe I did some rocking techniques to kind of guide the musculature to lay back in its original position where it's supposed to live. And so, rocking, oh, my pen. Rocking technique with contraction to right, upper, and lower extremity. Right? So what's my plan now? So my plan is I want to see them 2 weeks. Return 2 weeks. 90-minute focus traction. Right? And so I'll have this, because you're going to be seeing a lot of bodies, I'll have this to refer back to. Well, that's what I did. You don't have to look at a face and remember everything you did. It would be exhausting. Right? Now, if you are documenting in pen and paper and you need to make a change, we do not have erasers. They don't exist to us. We do not have whiteout. We strike a line, we initial, we write what we want. Right? So we have all those bulleted areas highlighted, and we see on page 349, this is like a page of SOAP notes. Subjective, we see symptoms, frequency, duration, intensity, how it started, aggravating, relieving activities, right? We want to document all of that. What I did here is kind of a condensed version. Objective, observations, tests, and results, treatment goals. Assessment and application, massage treatment given, changes due to massage. Then planning, their homework. Maybe we set them off to get, to start stretching more. You know, maybe some light range of motion. Right? Don't force yourself. Okay, maybe just examine your range of motion. Start with that. Right? Your plan for the next session. Next time we're going to do a 90-minute massage instead of a 60-minute massage, and we're going to focus on a lot of traction and rocking movements to release the holding pattern. And then long-range plans and goals. All right. So here on the next page, we see another SOAP form. It also has a body chart. And that body chart would be for you to record on where you worked. All right, use of client file software and online services. Several companies provide computer software or online services for massage therapy professionals to maintain their client files. Most of these software programs include intake, medical history, and consent forms. They provide for ongoing SOAP note documentation. Many programs allow for massage therapy invoicing and financial records, as well as forms that simplify insurance billing for massage therapists. For the self-employed massage therapist, many programs include basic office management with appointment calendar, simple accounting, and publishing software to create custom invoices, letterheads, business cards, brochures, and so forth. Once it is set up, a good massage therapy business software program will simplify and streamline record-keeping process, leaving the practitioner more time to practice the art and science of massage. So you won't have as much time to document because it does a lot of the work for you. And help the massage practice grow. When storing client information electronically or online, it is necessary to follow HIPAA regulations discussed later in this chapter. Some popular online sources include the following: clinicsource.com, massagesuite.com, islandsoftware.com. I have never used any of those personally. I have used Millennium and Nevo and MindBody. And they all have their own nuances and their pros and their cons and price tags, and it just depends on what you like. But having a call with these companies and discussing what features they offer, they make life a lot easier. Update records. Explain which records should be kept and why they should be updated. It is necessary to keep records of all services. Records should be accurate and complete and should provide information about treatments given, products used, state of the client's health, and financial status. Updating client history is essential whenever a client's health status changes. For example, a recent accident, new medication, or a diagnosis or changes in a treatment for a pre-existing condition. The health history should always be the most current document in the client file. All documentation should be concise and brief. Right? We don't need a novel, but we need to say exactly what we need to say quickly. Any unique information regarding the client reactions to treatment or changes in the client's condition should be noted in the SOAP notes. All data should be recorded with each treatment, including any special information that might be needed as a reference. Highlight this. For handwritten records, documentation of each session should be kept legible, dated, and signed. So, the end here. And you KP. Oh, it's the 4th. May the 4th. Right? Right. Keep highlighting. Do not erase or use correction fluid, i.e. whiteout, because these are considered legal documents or considered legal documentations. The same HIPAA rules apply to electronic records, and that any revisions to a client's record must be tracked. And that's not to say if you had a typo and you backtracked and you fixed your typo while you were typing it. But if you go into the session to record more notes, you leave what you have there and add to it, and then leave a note that this was before, this is after. I usually do a pre and post note session, not of all soap, but in my assessment. I do a pre and a post assessment. And that highlight. Software makes it easier by displaying an overview of the history of each client and allowing you to enter new updates. Keeping accurate records of each client's condition, tolerance, and reaction permits therapists to render more effective treatments and achieve better results. The more detailed notes you keep, the easier it will be to work on your client, because you won't have to be racking your brain each time they come in, going, what did we do? Oh, I think that's this person. You have it in black and white. This is what we did. This is what worked. This is what doesn't work. All right. Be cognizant of the client's well-being. Concern for the client's well-being helps establish mutual confidence. Reviewing updated records before a client returns for a session refreshes your memory about the client's condition, treatments given, and the client's likes and dislikes, right? Some like the heat on the table. Some hate it. It's Florida. It's screaming hot outside. Why would I want heat on the table? I'm hot. Take the blanket off. I don't want the sheet. Maybe you have to have the sheet, right? We want to document all this stuff. This not only allows you to plan the session, but also familiarize yourself with the client, which impresses the client and inspires confidence in you, right? We are not a database, right? We can't have every client's information in the forefront of our brain all the time. So we need help. We need that little, oh, this is what I did. Okay, I remember now. And the more you read it, the more often they come in, the more familiar you will be with them. But if they're a person that comes once every 2 months, once every 3 months, remembering what you did last time is going to be burdensome. So to have that information right there, it makes it very simple for you. On the other hand, a practitioner who relies on memory and forgets important factors about the client from one session to the next might lose trust that is so necessary in the therapeutic relationship. It's good to remember little odds and ends that aren't necessarily in the soap notes. You know, if they were going on a trip, you know, once we get all their information, pertinent information in the massage, and how was your trip before we begin your session? Oh, I had a great time. Thanks for remembering. Things like that. That's going to speak to you as a person, and it makes it more personable. But it's not 100% needed. The practitioner must never discuss or share personal information about clients. All records must be kept in a secure place. A practitioner must not divulge information about the client's personal matters without written consent of the client, and then only when the exchange of such information is for the client's benefit. The practitioner often works closely with the client's physician when addressing certain physical conditions. Therefore, the confidence of both client and physician must be respected. When the practitioner must never discuss or share personal information about, right?
I can't hear you.
I've got no sound on you either. I can see you, but I can't hear you.
I can hear. Oh, no, that's Lauren. I hear. Never mind.
How about now? There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. I got kicked off the internet. All right, so we got 2 pages left. We're good. So we're gonna go down to confidentiality. As discussed in chapter 3, confidentiality is one of the foundations of the therapeutic relationship. Essentially, confidentiality guarantees the non-disclosure of privileged and private information that is shared during the therapeutic session. Highlight here. This means that a client identity or information about them or their condition is kept private and not divulged to any third party. End highlight. Confidentiality is necessary to build trust within the relationship. Now come down to HIPAA and highlight here. In 2001, the Health Insurance, Portability, and Accountability Act of 1986, HIPAA, became effective. And highlight. This legislation is designed to enhance healthcare in the United States by restoring trust among consumer healthcare providers and organizations delivering the care. Highlight. HIPAA compliance is required by any agency or individual person who stores or transmits personal health information electronically. And highlight. A portion of HIPAA Lauren, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, before we lose it again, I want you to go ahead and highlight this bulleted area here. I'm not gonna read those just in case we get bumped again. And then we come down to client files, permission and release. Let's go ahead and highlight that first chunk there, those first 3 lines. Any information about the client confidential between the client and practitioner, except when pertinent information client's benefits, such as client is seeing or the client or with the client. The client as well as any information about and the in needs to do written permission and really further highlight this first sentence here. Accurate records permit the practitioner to be more effective and achieve better results. End highlight. Client records, whether on paper or in a computer, must be protected and kept secure. And then finally, in that last figure, we see an release of information form. So this is something they will sign and say, okay, I'm okay with you giving this information to this practitioner, right? And it tells you who it can go to, when it can go there, how long it can go there for, if you don't get it there in that time frame, the client signature, and then the day that they sign it. This goes in their file and stays there forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, right? And then a copy of that goes to whoever you're sending it to, plus the information that they needed. Whew. Okay. So before we get disconnected again, I want to make sure that you know to do the questions for discussion and review at the end of the chapter. And for anybody else viewing the video after the fact, please send all assignments to massagedl@sunstate.edu. I've been getting a lot of emails to my personal email for questions. That's great, but for assignments specifically, massagedl@sunstate.edu. All right. Any questions?
Are you going to send out another one of those weekly checklists for this week?
We're going to do those weekly checklists more just in a printed email instead of the actual checklist, because the checklist itself has become a little too convoluted for everybody.
Okay.
We just, some of the activities we've created don't transpose well into MindTap's format, but we're using them to apply hours, so we do need them turned in.
So that stuff will be in MindTap. It'll just be like, we don't submit it there. We just do it and then submit it to the email.
Yeah, like pop it in a Word document or do it on a piece of lined paper and take a picture of it and send it as a PDF or whatever.
Okay.
And it's usually the assignment we're speaking about is like what we're seeing here on 353, these questions here. That format just doesn't translate into MindTap for some reason. All right.
Okay.
Any questions about the chapter? It's pretty straightforward stuff. It's just, you know, things that we have to know to do, and we will do them forever. So get familiar with it. All right. So before we get booted again, I'm going to go ahead and shut this down, and we will see you on Wednesday.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.